So they already set in motion at dawn, telling us that they have 36 general members, plus they have animal relatives that move silently thanks to SP, and adding themselves, there are a total of 73 beings. The reason they moved so early is that the day before, one of their clones found the humans' camp, and upon arrival, they noticed a barrier, so his companion mentioned to him that monsters inferior to the relatives wouldn't be able to cross it. So she recommended that the best thing to do now is to destroy it, so our Gobro asks all his Skases to surround the barrier, and once everyone is in position, our protagonist powered up his Dino Lance with an attribute echo from his silver arm, and with a single shot, destroyed the barrier. At the same time, the couple of our Red moved the earth of the humans so that they couldn't escape, completely cutting off their escape route, while Damie and ESP led the magical attacks, and our Goro, for his part, generated a large number of skeletons, while throwing many spears, thus managing to eliminate most of the common soldiers. However, this was not enough, as from the rubble emerged a blonde and beautiful horsewoman with her sword and accompanied by her comrades, was eliminating the skeletons, and although our ogre tried to intimidate her with an ogre roar, it was useless, as she now detected him and knew he was a dark ogre controlling the skeletons, so she orders all the soldiers she commands to kill that ogre. So first they clear the path full of skeletons and then enhance the speed of the commander, and upon noticing all this, our ogre knows that the girl will stab him in the heart and avoid easy attacks, sending her flying while mentioning that both are very useful and just for that she will let them live, but she silences him and mentions that she is going to kill him, and seeing such courage in her to say that to him, he likes it. So the blonde mentions that if he truly wants her, he must demonstrate his power, and only if he manages to defeat her will she accept her fate, while emphasizing that among the humans, the horsewoman, the cleric, the mage, and the other swordswoman are very skilled people. So he will capture them alive and orders everyone else to be killed except for those he mentioned. So Damie quickly uses her charming eye, causing several soldiers to kill themselves, and taking advantage of the blood running on the battlefield, her partner used it to cause even more terror, and well, for his part, Gokichi was mothering him as if nothing, and since obviously Urtra didn't want to be left behind, he also gave his blow with his beak, and as a result of all these attacks together, they managed to exterminate the enemy without losing anyone. But on his part, our ogre tells us that the horsewoman's sword only managed to hit him once, and although it didn't cause him a serious wound, he recognizes her as a worthy rival. And since obviously the commander wouldn't surrender, she requested help from the mage, thus using the white flame dragon, and upon noticing this 5th grade magic, her comrades doubted that their protagonist would come out unscathed, and in that, the old mage loses control of the dragon, but obviously, since our protagonist isn't suffering at all, he emphasizes that now he has the victory and not to worry because he doesn't intend to let her die, so with an epic movement, he manages to destroy the white flame dragon, and with this last battle, everything ended with a crushing victory, and at least for him, they gained a lot by capturing all these people alive, and he smiles because he knows he'll put them to work soon. He's a high exploiter, and obviously, after that, he ate all the other soldiers to acquire their abilities. Evidently, after the victory, the Selfies brought him all the reward, besides inviting them to a tremendous banquet, as they brought everything and would celebrate in their own village. Our protagonist thanked them for everything since now the humans wouldn't be able to continue their attack, and what a tremendous banquet of generosity. Not his, though he appreciated it, while occasionally he goes to observe the humans to see how many days they can endure, not with disappointment, but rather with the realization that humans are more faithful to their instincts than elves. And so the drug he had inserted soon took effect. Our ogre desired them, and although the blonde horsewoman emphasized that he couldn't have relations before marriage, he did it anyway in all positions, and even his companion, the redhead, saw everything in action, and obviously, she was next after the blonde, and so, on the 72nd day, he put earrings on them so they couldn't lie or hide, and with this, he obtained all the necessary information. He will also share it with the elf father because during the banquet they had, he told him that they couldn't always depend on them, as that would affect the morale of their clan in the future. That's why he wants him to pass on the information he gathers, and they will figure out how to fight based on that information, but obviously, they'll reward them much better, adding 10 more barrels to the reward now, and our ogre happily accepted it because our protagonist can't say no to liquor, and that's how he passed the information to the elf father, and thanks to the slave communication device, they know the route the main human forces will take, as these bastards intended to use. Our protagonist mentions that he will help by ambushing the humans, and the next day, they are prepared. They even set traps along the route. Real pros, they hid to wait for the humans and managed to spot them, noticing that an army was being led by a knight in iron armor, accompanied by 500 soldiers, 100 of whom were mages. Upon analyzing, our ogre knows that if the elves fought alone, they would have a tough time, but for them, this was a piece of cake, as they are now a team of mercenaries known as the Parabellum. They quickly stopped the humans by dropping trees to block their path and throwing huge rocks to kill them, enchanted rocks that crushed those who fled and resisted. This eliminated 200 soldiers in one go. Then the long-range attack unit acted, while goblins had dug holes as well, causing the humans to fall flat. With this, only 100 soldiers remained, but the main problem came when their leader ordered them to gather and form a wall by stacking shields, corpses, or whatever they found. Seeing this leadership, our ogre friend mentions that the Iron Knight is quite a good leader, and obviously, the battle stalled, so our protagonist changed strategy, asking his friend Ogre Kichi to go and capture their commander, and thus they defeated everyone with a joint attack of 3. However, our ogre doubted if Ogre Kichi could restrain himself, and he was right, as the human had no chance against our protagonist. However, he notes that the human defended himself quite well, so he knows he will be a good pawn. After a while of fighting, Ogre Kichi brings him over on his shoulder, and our protagonist celebrates with his friend, reporting everything to the elf father before easily withdrawing, not without eating some soldiers to gain some abilities, along with the human. Ogre Kichi mentions that the young man resembles him a lot, as he felt the same excitement one experiences when in a tight spot. However, Dami interrupts, asking for a night of pleasure and a child from him, and obviously, as our protagonist doesn't mind direct requests, he accepts the request for one. Meanwhile, in the cell where the humans were, some complained about being locked up alive, but the redhead remained calm. Well, at least they were given food and a place to sleep. However, the other soldiers, being of nobility, insisted that a commoner like him wouldn't understand, as all this wounded their pride. But the young man didn't care, so he reminded them that if they could still complain, it meant they were fine. After this, our protagonist interrogated him to find out why humans wanted to attack the elves. That's when he realized that the princess of Shertin Bel had contracted a very rare disease, and since she was to marry the next emperor of the Karika Empire, the king ordered them to find a cure. They discovered that the remedy was with the Selphos of Kirim, protected by the forest demigoddess. Basically, the human princess's illness was what started this war, and he knows they're like this because he, too, was once human. Meanwhile, while roaming around, he stumbled upon what seemed to be hot water, and quickly went to the place, joyfully discovering that it was hot springs, a significant find. Our protagonist immediately began digging a hole, informing everyone that it would enhance their healing, cure altered states, and most importantly, help maintain fantastic skin. Naturally, everyone started using it. On another note, Orokichi was having some performance issues with his partner, while the women, along with some humans, were bathing together. For our protagonist, it was a tremendous discovery, and he obviously thanked Ertru for it. Moving on to day 75, a new training session with the prisoners began, conducting a simulation using real soldiers, and victory was for the elves. He defined that whoever defeated the rival team, but obviously they didn't make them fight with lethal weapons. Instead, Ogre Kichi and Bloss kept losing, and our red friend's brain was so fried that smoke was coming out of it. This made it clear to our protagonist, who had more muscle than brain. However, the redhead had had enough of fighting skeletons and asked to fight our Grawl. This guy either has a lot of guts or is very foolish, but our protagonist thinks it's the former, so he helped by enhancing his body, as otherwise, his body wouldn't withstand the fight. Elevating our protagonist's power to the maximum, they started exchanging punches, but our dark friend easily evaded them and finished him off with a combo of blows. Once defeated, he healed him to ensure he was okay. Then, the crazy Orokicha, seeing that the human was powered up, asked to fight him, and obviously, our protagonist allowed it. With the support magic the human had, they were now evenly matched. impressing even Ogre Kichi with his fighting spirit. The women even mentioned that it would be a waste to have him as a missionary, highlighting what an incredible human he is. Hearing this, the blonde cooks emphasized that they would now stay with Papio Grow during lunch. The redhead mentioned to our protagonist that coming from a place with many half-humans, he gets along better with them than with the nobles who were his soldiers. Noticing that here, half-humans, beast folk, and humans coexist, he realized that he leads them very well. Standing up from the table, he mentions that he's going to stop being an imperial soldier because he wants to fight under his command. Seeing his sincere and confident look, our protagonist immediately accepts, freeing him from his slave collar. Recognizing his talent, he then appointed him as the mentor of the redhead so she could learn combat arts and techniques from humans. The next day, he decided to give 3 humans to the elf father. Taking the opportunity to ask about the remedy or cure they were searching for, the elf reveals what he already gave him, so he searches for it and asks the old man why he gave him something so valuable. With a look, the old man tells him that his rules prohibit giving it to humans, so our protagonist drinks it, acquiring the remedy of blood and rapid revival. He then gives a little of his blood to the human in the mouth, and as if by magic, he's completely healed, even fixing the back problem he had. With just a drop, all of that happened, making our Grawl now fearful, realizing he has become unimaginably strong.